Parenting is chaos, laughter, and love. It's the hardest, happiest ride you'll ever take. So real mamas, let's get talking. Hey beautiful mamas, I'll be focused today on parent-child relationships. Please know that everything I'm talking about is applicable to any meaningful relationship. So with that in mind, let's jump in. So just imagine, it's Saturday night, I'm in the kitchen, I just finished cooking dinner for my family after a long day, hard working day. I'm on the edge. I'm exhausted, sleepless nights, anxious about all the things I have to do. So I'm pretty proud of the dinner that I put together. Yeah, like I just whipped up, some grilled chicken and potatoes. No biggie, but after a long day, it's hard. Then my son walks into the kitchen and he's just like staring at the counter and he's like, ugh, chicken again? I'm not eating that. And that was it. I just snapped. I looked at him and I yelled, what is wrong with you? Can you be grateful for one thing in your life? And things just got worse from there. He screams, I hate you. He runs out of the room. He slams his door. Wow. I was just left with my self-loathing session. It just started. My self-loathing session of myself. What is wrong with me? I messed up my kid's life forever. If you're a parent, you probably felt this pain before. For me, it comes with an extra layer of shame. We're never happy about those moments. I'm also a teacher, and I do my best for the kids that I teach, that they can be the best. And I explain to their parents, of my students, how important their relationship with their children is. And yet, this is true as well, that there is no such thing as a perfect parent. Mistakes and struggles, they come with the job, but no one tells us what to do next. Do we just move on? Kind of pretend the whole thing never happened? Like I just didn't yell and I didn't flip out? Well, all parents yell. No one really knows what to do next. We need to fill in that hole, and that hole is the power of repair. And we need to go and get good at repairing. So what does that mean to repair? Repair means to kind of fix the situation in a way. Repair is the act of going back to a moment of discomfort and taking responsibility for your behavior and acknowledge the impact it had on another person. This happens to be our child. Now, I want to explain the difference of repairing from an apology, because what it often looks like is to just shut a conversation down. So it would be like, hey, I'm sorry I yelled. Can we move on now? For a good repair to happen, it needs to open up a good conversation for a successful relationship. And if you think about what it means to get good at repairing, there's so much hope and possibility that you can give, to each other. So the next time I snap at my kid or my husband or my co-workers, instead of berating myself like I did that night in the kitchen, I try to remind myself that I am focusing on getting good at repairing. So let's get back to my example in the kitchen. My son is in his room now. This is really important to understand and help us make decisions about what to do next. Well, here are the facts. Now, my son is alone, overwhelmed, in his distress because scary mom just came out, and that's scary when we yell. And now he has to figure out a way to get to feeling safe and secure. And if I don't help him do that, he has to rely on one of the only things that he knows, which is self-blame. Now, we all know this. Self-blame sounds something like this. Something is wrong with me. I'm unlovable. I make bad things happen. Sound familiar? Self-blame, as well as we all know, it works for not only our children, but we all know it works against us as adults. Something's wrong with me. I make bad decisions. I'm unlovable, and so on and so on. So many adults have this fear, but really what we see here, they are actually the childhood stories we wrote when we were left alone following distressing events that went unrepaired. Because our parents didn't repair, we kind of do the same cycle. And then it turns, and it could, not all the time, but it could turn into depression and anxiety, and none of us want that for our kids to experience. So we do our best that we can do, but we can do better. And it doesn't mean we have to be perfect, because there's no such thing as a perfect parent, but we can try. When you try to repair it, it's more than just taking away a kid's feeling of self-blame. You're adding in everything they needed but didn't get: safety, connection, understanding, love, and a sense of being good enough. It's like saying, I'm not going to let this part of your life end with you blaming yourself. Yeah, the yelling happened, but I can help make sure this chapter ends differently, with a new title, a new theme, a new lesson. When you think back on painful experiences that we have had, but do it in a safer, more supportive space, the memory doesn't just go away, but the story you tell yourself about it can change. And when that story shifts, so do you. Repairing can feel like rewriting the past in a way that brings healing. So let's work on writing a better story. Okay, so step 1 is to repair yourself. You can't offer compassion and to be calm and understanding to someone else unless you first find those things within yourself. Self-repair starts with separating who you are from what you did. For me, that means reminding myself that 2 things can be true. I'm not proud of what I just did, but that doesn't define me. Even when I struggle, I'm still good on the inside. I can do better. That shift helps me see myself differently. I'm a good parent. I'm a good partner. I'm a good person who had a hard moment, okay, which I did. This isn't about letting myself off the hook. It's about staying grounded so I can actually focus on what I want to do differently next time. And from there, I can use the energy to repair with my child. And then we go into phase 2. Step 2 would be to repair with my child, with your child. There's no perfect script, but I like to stick to 3 simple things. Name what happened. So I would say what happened. I'll take responsibility, okay? And say what you'll do differently next time, okay? It might sound something like this, okay? So, hey, I keep thinking about what happened the other night in the kitchen. I'm sorry I yelled. I bet that felt scary. That wasn't your fault. I'm working on staying calm, even when I'm frustrated. So here, you're naming what happened, you're taking responsibility, and then you're saying automatically, what you're going to do differently next time. And it just brings you closer in your relationship. And let's be honest, it literally takes 15 seconds. Those 15 seconds can have a lifelong impact, and it replaces their feelings of self-blame with trust, safety, and connection. That's a serious upgrade. What isn't repair We've all been there, saying things that feel natural but don't actually help. For example, I'm sorry I yelled, but if you hadn't complained about your dinner, it wouldn't have happened. That's not helpful. Or, for example, you should be grateful for a home-cooked meal and then you wouldn't get yelled at. These aren't boosting anyone's confidence. So those don't reconnect you with your child. Instead, they send the message that your child causes your reaction, which isn't true and doesn't set a healthy example for how to manage emotion. What does real repair do in a long run? When you model true repair, your child learns how to take responsibility for their actions without drowning in guilt. You teach them their mistakes don't define them, and they'll carry that lesson into adulthood. And once you've reconnected, you can take it further by teaching them new skills. For example, the next day you might say, "You might not always like what I make for dinner, and that's okay. But instead of saying, 'That's disgusting,' maybe you could try, 'That's not my favorite.'" Now, instead of blaming them, self-blame. So mamas, thank you so much for listening. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell, and I would love to hear your comments. And if there's any other topic that you would want me to talk about, let's get talking real. So see you later, real mamas, and have an amazing week. Don't forget to hit that bell like, and subscribe for more parenting tips.